Steph, welcome to the interview. Thanks for coming on. Can we just start by asking you, what is it that you do and how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, I manage an independent home care provider. I've been doing that for about 5.5 years. Dalriada Home Care, it actually started as a residential unit. My parents founded it in 1990, and it branched out into supported accommodation and home care. And around 2004, the residential home closed down and the people that lived in it were moved out into their own flats in the community. And it's just kind of, I've worked as a support worker with the company since I was about 16 in the residential home, then went out into work in the community. And yeah, I joined the management team about 5.5 years ago, and that's the rest is history.
And what's your role in the business now?
I'm managing director and also still registered manager.
Okay. And so it's a family business.
Yes.
What do you find are the biggest advantages to a family business? What do you enjoy about it? And you know where I'm going to go next, right? With the following question. What do you enjoy?
I think it's I think we're a close-knit team. I'm currently my parents are both semi-retired, living abroad now, so it's kind of all on me. But I've got a really good team in the office with me, people who've also started off, as support workers and worked their way up into the management team. So yeah, it's good. It's very close, and it's more than just a job. It's more than just workplace.
And just for the other family businesses out there, I mean, presumably before your parents semi-retired, you were operating as a family unit in the business. So what have you found were some of the challenges with that?
To be fair, I didn't work directly under. There was always there was always a manager that was sort of my manager. And my parents were more sort of director level, so I didn't work with them. Although my first shift in the residential home was with my dad, and it was a back shift, and he sat on the couch with the residents watching soaps all evening, and they just left me to it. Oh, great. But it's been fine. I think the biggest challenges with that have been other people's perception. I think that Connie, my assistant manager right now, when I first started working with her, we were both support workers out in the community. And I think I'd worked with her 3 or 4 times before she said to me, "Oh, you didn't tell me your mum and dad owned the company." And I said, "Well, what difference does it make? It doesn't, it doesn't affect my working. It shouldn't affect anybody else's working."
What's been the biggest learning for you since you've taken over the role of managing director?
It's hard work. Very hard work. I kind of appreciate why my parents were very stressed when we were growing up. I think
well, what's been one of the biggest issues that you've had to overcome?
Oh, well, definitely the pandemic. That was a big one. Nobody really saw that one coming. But I think we did okay. I think learning from that experience, I would say that plan for the unexpected. We did not have pandemic listed on our contingency planning at all. Beyond the normal winter illnesses where you've got some staff shortages. So we were kind of just winging it to begin with. But no,
did you have to adapt quite quickly when the pandemic hit? I mean, did you look at how are we going to change our model in order to survive?
Yeah, there'd already been things that we'd been working on, moving away from like paper-based systems onto an online care management system. So we'd already picked the system that we were going to use, and the management team had some training on it, but then the pandemic hit and that really lit a fire under the whole process. We had to get it rolled out much quicker than we had originally planned. But it was an absolute godsend at the time. Everything, just being able to adjust everything cloud-based. For those of us that were working at home, anytime something needed updated, that information was put on the system, and the staff out on the front line had instant access to it. So it made things a lot easier.
Great. And so what are your aspirations for the company in the next 5 years?
I do want to grow. We need to grow. I don't really have any aspirations to move out with the local area. I think something really unique about small independent home care providers is that personalised service that you get when your office is on the doorstep of the community that you're helping. But there's more than enough people needing support within our local community. So we're always recruiting. Because the more staff we have, the more people we can support. There's a lot of people in hospital right now who could be at home with a care package. There's a lot of families struggling, looking after loved ones that, you know, need some help from somebody external. So yeah, the more staff we've got, the more people we can help.
So what qualities do you look for in staff and employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment as you're always growing?
I think the most important skill that you have to have is compassion. I think everything else can be taught. All the things about, you know, the manual handling, the medication, the rules and regulations around social care. But I think you need to have that compassion and caring nature to be suitable for the role.
So that must form a big part of your interview process, your selection process, looking for that.
Yeah,
Excellent.
definitely. We always we hate doing interviews as much as people hate coming in for interviews. So our first thing is just get them relaxed right from the start. It's a very unofficial, just here for a chat. We do have some set questions, but it's really more about kind of how you handle conflict and what you would do if somebody was somebody confided something sensitive, you know, just so we know that they got the understanding. But it's very much just a chat, get to know each other. And if somebody comes in and they're all happy and chatty and can talk the hind legs off a donkey, you know that they're just going to be absolutely great when they're going out and supporting people at home.
And they'll be a good fit for the rest of the team as well, for the rest of
Yeah.
Oh, but brilliant. So you said earlier that it's hard work. How do you make sure that you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I delegate. I'm not a micromanager. I never have been. I think that part of the success that I've got right now is I've picked the right people to be in the right positions, and I know that I can just ask them to do something that needs done, and I know it'll be done to a good standard. I don't have to constantly chase them or check up on it. So I get my downtime, I get my family time. And I know that everything's going fine.
And what would you say to anyone who's thinking of going into business?
Do your research. Make sure it's definitely something that you're passionate about, because I think you'll lose interest very quickly if it's not something that you feel very strongly about. There'll be a lot that will put you off.
Brilliant. And then the last question, what is the best advice you would give to your 18-year-old self?
Probably just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. To be honest, I think my 18-year-old self could come and tell my 37-year-old self some stuff, because I was far more confident and self-assured back then than I am now. But I suppose that's the carefree nature of youth, isn't it?
I guess when you're 18, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And then you start to discover it as you take over the role.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, Steph, thank you very much for coming on the call. That wraps up the interview, and really appreciate and enjoyed finding out more about you and your business.
Thank you.
Thank you.